bye week, obviously, for some of our guys, get healthy, but also get some work in. Focuses on us, fundamentals, technique, things we control. Got to take a step. Young guys got to continue to grow.
And that's what Tennessee's trying to do this week and what Tennessee will try to do next week. Welcome into Tennessee Tape Room alongside Emilie Rae Cochrane and Wes Rucker here talking Tennessee football here coming out of Tennessee's open date. Of course, do you call it an open date? Do you call it a bye week? Some people depends different ways, but I guess we will go ahead and call it an open date because we're working here.
Yeah, bye week for sure, and some players getting some time to do some other things on their bye week. Deshaun Bishop was at Carnes, his alma mater, last night to watch his brother play. He was the honorary captain, so great to see them using their time wisely and, taking this time to get healthy for sure. Yes,
and there are a lot of reasons for Tennessee to feel pretty good right now going into this open date, coming out of it. We're going to talk about some reasons that maybe aren't so good, some ones that are good, and then we'll talk a little bit about Arkansas and some other stuff. But going forward here, 3 reasons to feel good, I think, about this Tennessee football team. Number one, let's just go straight to the top. Tennessee has upgraded at quarterback, and that was a situation, Emily, that a lot of people going into the season, that's obviously number one with a bullet for a reason, right? Nico Iamaleava is gone. Joey Aguilar comes in. He's learning his third system in about 4 months when he arrives in Knoxville, but man, it's been good so far.
It's been good, and Joey's the kind of guy you can see just making the people around him better. The wide receivers have been outstanding this year, specifically Chris Brazzell. You look at his numbers, just absolutely off the charts. He leads the nation in receiving touchdowns. He leads the SEC in receiving yards, I should say. So just outstanding numbers from him, and you look at his growth from year 1 at Tennessee to year 2. I mean, he only had 2 touchdowns last year. He's up to 7 this year. So Joey Aguilar's the type of quarterback that makes the players around him better.
Yes, and you could say that last week Brazzell also led the country in pass interference calls that were bad, that took touchdowns
that was tough.
Off the board. That was a tough one for him there in that way. But Tennessee won the game. Number 2, another reason to feel good for Tennessee, I think there have been some things about defense that we need to talk about later. But there's been more good than bad. Tennessee plays that havoc style of defense, Emily, right? The quick way to put it is you can play defense a couple ways. You keep everybody in front of you, make people go a long way to get a touchdown, long drives, or you can go create havoc. You can get in the backfield. Now, you're going to give up more big plays when you do that. You're also going to make a lot of big plays. And Tennessee is leading the country in sacks going into this weekend, up near the tops in tackles for loss. Got multiple defensive touchdowns. Lots of good stuff going on that side.
Yeah, and you talk about those numbers. Arion Carter leading the SEC in tackles by, I think, 15 plus more than any other defender. Colton Hood has the most defensive touchdowns in the nation right now. So you talk about all those numbers, and it's funny because when people look at this Tennessee team, they're like, all right, we need the defense to match what the offense is doing right now. But at the same time, you have those consistent playmakers week in and week out making big plays. But I think they might need more of them and for more players to get healthy on the defensive side to fill in those puzzle pieces.
And that leads us right into number 3, Emily. That's you look at this, Tennessee's probably going to get healthier. You have to say probably because it's football. You can't just say you're getting all these guys back because you're going to get some guys hurt. But I mean, at some point this season, Jermon McCoy's going to be back, and that's going to be really big. Ricky Gibson at some point, maybe later in the season, they're hoping there. But Jackson Moyes come back a little bit this week, coming off the bye week. We reported this last week. David Hobbs is going to be back. That's going to be big for Tennessee's defense. There's a lot of reasons to feel good. Some guys are going to get hurt. This is football. But I think when you look at Tennessee getting healthier on defense, that's going to be a big deal. And we're going to wrap it back up with number 1 here. We're going to take you to the upgrade himself. Here's Joey Aguilar talking about things he thinks he actually could do better.
There's always something I could do better to get the offense in a certain situation or just put the receiver in a better spot. But I think I can always strive to be perfect no matter if I had a good game or not.
And there are some things that Joey Aguilar could do better. There are some things that I think Tennessee as a team could do better, Emily. It's close to undefeated, not quite undefeated. Still a lot of season left, still some things that got to get better.
Yeah, field goal away from being 5-0 on the season, unfortunately. But these are the 3 causes for pause that Wes and I came up with. And you want to start with number 1?
I'm going to go inconsistent third down defense with 1, Emily. We talked about the defense creating a lot of havoc, right? That's a good thing. The bad thing, been a few too many third down, fourth down conversions. I think if you combine third down and fourth down, a little better than 50% Georgia was against Tennessee, and Mississippi State was almost at 50%. That's got to get better. There's been too many third and loose situations or fourth down situations where they picked up first downs. Can't have that. And then number 2, I think Joey Aguilar, we talk about this, right? Leroy Jenkins, right? We talked about this all summer long. He's going to do this. you're going to have to let him make some mistakes because that's just when you're aggressive, right? You know, Nico never really took many chances with the ball. But when you have some chances, sometimes a 40-yard arm punt on third down is okay. You don't need to be throwing into triple coverage. You know.
Absolutely, but I think that also just makes watching Joey Aguilar so exciting. You know, I don't think Tennessee's had a quarterback in a while that does what he does on the field at that QB position. So, yeah, he's taking chances, but I think the numbers are weighing out in Tennessee's favor on offense. Yes, it gets a little risky at times, but I think that's also what makes it so exciting.
Yeah, it is, and that's the thing about the Heupel offense is that quarterbacks always take care of the football. This is certainly a more aggressive quarterback than Tennessee has had in the Heupel era, and you're going to have some of that. You're going to have some issues there, right? You're going to have to live with some mistakes, but I think there are times where, like a couple of those picks against Mississippi State, you got to swallow that one up. You got to throw it out of bounds. You got to use your legs, do something else. Number 3, special teams sloppiness. I think this is a big one for Tennessee. There have been multiple guys muffing punts this season. Boo Carter's had a couple. Brandon Staley's had one. You've had Staley also letting the ball go down to the 1-yard line when he should have just come up and caught it. You've had a couple of missed field goals. Sorry to mention those, Max Gilbert.
I'm sorry,
but a couple of those in big spots, you'd like to have those. And they think they're going to get those moving forward from him. But got to correct that also. Some holding penalties, just some things on special teams that need to get a little better.
Absolutely. And you talk about Boo Carter. He's one of those guys who can either return it all the way to the house or, you know, he can muff it and get in his head maybe a little bit with maybe just not his attitude, but just the way he's a little bit inconsistent when it comes to returning those balls. A
little bit. And I think these causes for pause going forward now, this is going to be an interesting one because Tennessee is going into a game against Arkansas where normally going into the season, the first time of the year, you face somebody going into like that August game, that late August opener. That's where you're looking at film from last season. You're looking at all these things. It's a little different with Arkansas. This is an Arkansas team with a new head coach in the middle of the season. Here's Josh Heupel talking about that.
Dive as deep as he possibly can. You know, I think it will be important for us schematically. You know, 1, to communicate and adjust on the field, but 2, on the sidelines and staff and players together. You know, had a ton of success last year in the 3 down front they did against us, preparing for that, and then we'll adjust to anything else that we see.
Yeah, Bobby Petrino will be the interim.
Now the rest of the year.
Yeah, but, you know, he was their offensive coordinator, so I don't know if the play calling will be, you know, completely different, but Josh Heupel still sees this as an opportunity to maybe prepare a little bit differently.
Sure, and I think where you're going to be looking at changes is especially defensively, I would think. You know, offensively now Petrino will be calling all of the plays and making those decisions, but I think defensively you're looking at, you know, they brought in some new coaches just in the past week. You know, they're going to go 3-down stuff, 4-down stuff. Are they going to mix it up? They're going to use zones. They're going to pressure. There's a lot of things. They don't have much to lose coming into Neyland Stadium, and that's going to be something big, I think, to pay attention to. But we will see, right? It's a lot of unknowns for Tennessee, also a lot of unknowns for Arkansas. So we will see. We'll be back here in just a second to wrap up Tennessee Tape Room. Welcome back to Tennessee Tape Room, and we're going to wrap up this week's show with another discussion on sort of where things are for Tennessee coming out of this open date. And I got to tell you, things are okay for Tennessee. In a perfect world, you'd be sitting here undefeated. You'd be sitting here with a win over Georgia. You'd be sitting here with just a nice kind of, not easy, but a more comfortable way into the college football playoff. If you're Tennessee right now, you're still in a good spot. You're not exactly in the perfect spot. You're not in a bad spot. You look around the country, I don't know that there's a super team out there right now, guys. I just don't know that there is one. That's good news for everybody, though, because I think what you've got now is, we'll see what happens with injuries, some other things throughout the course of the second half of the season. But right now it looks like kind of an open field, and it looks kind of like an NFL style where this is a week-to-week thing. Now, that doesn't mean that the pressure's ever off, because it's not. But that means that if Tennessee goes into these games, it executes, it plays the way that it can play, I think Tennessee could be right there in the college football playoff again, and as they've been for most of Josh Heupel's tenure, right there in the mix. You know, you cannot win a championship in the sport of football in September. You can lose one, though. Tennessee has not lost one. Tennessee is right there in the mix. You know, the Georgia game, it was what it was. It did not go the way that Tennessee wanted it to go. Certainly didn't go the way that Max Gilbert wanted it to go. Didn't go the way that anybody else on that team wanted it to go. But that's done now. Tennessee starts here with Arkansas coming off the open date, which again, last year, Tennessee, Arkansas coming off the open date. That didn't go well. This game coming up now sets a tone. If you're Tennessee, you go out there this week, you take care of business. Then you're going down to Tuscaloosa for a showdown against Alabama. that's another game that could go either way. And then you got to go to Florida later in the season, which for Tennessee is never a good thing historically, but you never know. It's anybody's ball game right now, and Tennessee is still in that game right now.